Hello, and welcome to Nothing Ever Happens in Canada, but we know this is simply not true. This is a Canadian podcast looking to explore the myths, legends, and just good old stories Canada has to tell. I'm Canadian Girl. Thanks for joining me today on another adventure to go exploring for Kelly, the said-to-be sea monster lurking in Ontario's fourth largest lake, known as Lake Simcoe. We're off today to explore the legend of an unknown creature said to be lurking in the depths of Lake Simcoe's Kempenfelt Bay, a sea creature that has so many different names depending on who you ask and which side of the lake you're on when you do. Some call her Loch Simcoe after the famous other loch. What's her name again? Oh yes, Loch Ness or Nessie, which leads us to Bessie. Like I mentioned before, depending on which side of the lake you're on, her name changes. Head over to the Beaverton, Ontario side of the lake, and they call her Bessie, in honor of her cousin in Lake Erie, also known as Bessie. She's known to some as Igopogo, in honor of the most famous sea serpent here in Canada, the Ogopogo, of the Okanagan Lake in Kelowna, BC. But head back to the other side of Lake Simcoe in Barrie, where the Kempenfelt Bay lies, and she is affectionately known as Kempenfelt Kelly, or sometimes Simcoe Kelly. Today we will be searching for an unknown creature said to have the appearance of a very large seal. We will go over the many sightings there have been over the years and find out what a cryptozoologist has to say about it all. Grab your cryptozoology hats, zip your bag up tight to keep those extra clothes dry, and don't forget that scuba gear as we go hunting for the unknown creature that lurks in the Kempenfelt Bay on Lake Simcoe that some claim is one of the most unexplored cryptid habitats remaining in North America. Our story begins back in 1832 on the shores of the Kempenfelt Bay, located in Barrie, Ontario, on the beautiful Lake Simcoe, who is commonly referred to as the Other Great Lake. Two brothers, David and James Souls, were tending to the family's sheep when suddenly they claimed to have seen a very long and large streak come through the lake. This is how they described it. Next, a very large and ugly sea creature with many fins along its long body rose from the lake onto the shore banks and snatched one of the family's sheep in seconds, taking it into the lake and disappearing before either brother had a chance to really even react or digest what was even happening. This is the first known reported sighting. David served on the front lines in the War of 1812 and was considered to be a very experienced soldier. He had extensive knowledge about the rivers and lakes of Upper Canada at the time. He was believed to be a very credible witness who would not be mistaken. Lake Simcoe is located in central Ontario and is 65 kilometers or 40 miles north of Toronto. It was formed by glacier meltwaters over 5,000 years ago, and at one point in time was a part of the prehistoric Lake Algonquin that covered part of Lake Huron, Lake Superior, Lake Erie, and Lake Simcoe. Today, Lake Simcoe is the largest inland lake in all of southern Ontario. It is oval-shaped and full of islands. To give you some perspective, though compared to a Great Lake, she is actually quite small, at 50 kilometers or 31 miles long, and 30 kilometers or 18 miles wide. And today, we will be spending most of our time in Kempenfelt Bay. It's the western arm of the lake and the deepest point found along the shores of Barrie, Ontario. The Indigenous people of the land have always believed there has been a sea monster that lived in the lake. The name they have given the creature was only ever said with a whisper and was known as Misha Peshu. I hope I said that close to right. The Indigenous legend often described the creature as being very serpent-like. They believed the creature to have a very angry and murderous spirit who would, trigger warning, cover your little ears for 10 seconds if you're listening. They were said to eat human flesh when angered. Fur traders in the late 18th and early 19th century would often report seeing the creatures. It was often described as being brown or gray in color, a long neck with a head that appeared to look like a dog. The most common thing people said, they never knew what to call it because they always said they had never seen anything else like it before. The creature was also described as a slow-moving swimmer, even around the presence of humans. It was known to surface right alongside boats or people on the shore, leading many to believe it was much more dangerous than they had ever imagined. Sightings are reported all across the lake, from the Narrows of Aurelia to Cook's Bay, another place we will spend a lot of time today. But the majority have always come from Kempenfelt Bay, which would be the easiest spot for the sea creature to be lurking, as it is the deepest point of the whole lake at 30 meters or 98 feet. Local folklore suggests there are tunnels under the lake connecting Lake Simcoe to other larger bodies of water. Many believe this is the answer as to why there have been so many similar sightings across all Canadian lakes over the many years. The underground tunnels would support a population of many creatures being able to exist in the deep, dark caves, protecting their young and allowing them a place to remain unseen. I did not look much more into this legend, as I thought I'd save it for another day, but I did find it very interesting and wanted to share it. In 1880, F.J. Delaney claimed to have captured one of the creatures. The paper, known as the Aurelia Packet and Times, would provide a detailed account of what they described as a serpent, 2 antennas of great length and sensitiveness, 4 hooks which made it resemble an octopus. It had 3 pairs of legs, and at the end of its tail were 3 curious fan-like members, in which they appeared used as a rudder. Reports around the same time would suggest the creature was responsible for the death of a sheep gazing along the shores of Cook's Bay. Many witnesses saw it and reported the event. In the early 1900s, the Carley family operated a boat manufacturing company at the end of Mulcaster Street in Barrie, Ontario, located on the wharf. The area around the business would become very busy as word would spread around town of sightings down by Carley's wharf of a very strange creature that did not seem to be shy. The first sighting was reported when a group of young boys were fishing at the wharf, just outside of the Carley's Boat Company in May of 1900. It was a Tuesday night just like any other. The boys were laughing and trying to guess who would catch the best fish that night, when suddenly one of them screamed. A large dark object had appeared and was approaching the wharf where the boys were standing. The creature would then lift its head out of the water, exposing its long neck, and the boys ran for it, screaming all the way up Mulcaster Street. Because it was such a nice night, many people were out and either saw or heard the commotion. They would head towards the wharf to see what had frightened the boys. Here's a side note. If you don't want to star in your own horror movie, don't ever go in the direction that people just ran from screaming. But yes, the groups of people would head towards the wharf, staggering one after the other and trying to see what had spooked the boys. They would report seeing the monster as well, shocked it had stuck around for so long. Some began to throw stones from the lakeshore at the beast. The beast seemed unafraid and was said to have simply waved her tail from side to side like a fan. The creature was described as serpent-like with a head that could look like a horse. It would eventually submerge itself back down into the water and disappear. In 1903, a pair of railway workers would report being startled by the creature while in a boat near the Carley Wharf. In 1905, the local paper began to refer to the creature as the sea monster, as in the letter C, in honor of the Carley family and the creature seeming to like their location. The same year, 3 more people would report seeing it by the wharf. A member of the Carley family, which I could not figure out which one it was, as the story was always reported this way, so I'm assuming the Carley family member wanted to remain somewhat anonymous, but was a way to claim they had seen the monster too, that was entertaining others around their business, but not being able to be judged for saying such a thing by those who would. Anyway, those are just my thoughts. The family member would encounter the beast themselves while participating in a regatta, which is the racing of canoes essentially. The beast would surface and then submerge and resurface in front of the Carley family member as if taunting them, which ultimately caused them to have to go off course and place poorly in the race. Most suspect whatever is hiding in the lake is somewhat related to a seal, whether it is from today, prehistoric, or undocumented. All arguments are to be heard. I'll tell you what I know and let you judge for yourself. Seals are known to be seen in such waters as the St. Lawrence River, Great Lakes, and other various lakes that are over 160 kilometers or 100 miles away from the sea, so it just may be possible. Also adding to this theory, Lake Simcoe is connected to the St. Lawrence River by the Trent-Severn Seaway, which is a 386-kilometer or 239-mile canal that connects Lake Ontario at Trenton with Lake Huron at Fort Severn, along with Trent River, Otonabee River, Cawthra Lakes, Lake Simcoe, Lake Couchiching, and the Severn River. Cryptozoologists theorize that the opening of the Trent-Severn Seaway in 1920 allowed a relic population of prehistoric beasts that were largely confined to Lake Simcoe. Most do not buy the claim of a simple seal wandering into Lake Simcoe. There have been too many sightings over the years. It would have to be a creature native to the area and know the land to maintain its population, even if it was a small one, and to remain elusive. Another theory adding to the proof of the creature's existence is that Lake Simcoe is said to be a pristine habitat and could easily sustain a very large array of aquatic life, one scientist is quoted as saying. He even said including a very large undocumented species. So what is this creature they call Kelly? Some type of long-necked plesiosaur? A prehistoric seal? An undocumented species? Or your common seal we see today, just terribly mistaken when it's seen out of place? It's hard to say for sure. Let's keep searching the waters to see what we can find. On July 31st, 1952, after another sighting had occurred, a native guide to the area, Wellington Charles, would name the creature lurking in the lake Igopogo, after its famous cousin, known to roam the Okanagan Lake, Ogopogo, and Manipogo, who's known to roam in Lake Manitoba. He thought it seemed fitting to have a more modern name for the creature so people would be able to identify it easier. Another sighting would occur in the shallows of Cook's Bay. 2 experienced anglers who had spent more than 30 years on Lake Simcoe were in 10 meters or 32 feet of water. It was so clear that day they could almost see the bottom, when suddenly, out of nowhere, with no warning, a very large dark object swam underneath their boat and grabbed both their fishing lines and took off with them, bending the rods in half so fast they snapped. One of the men involved in the event made a statement in an online fishing forum and claims him and his friend have never spoke about the incident again. There is even a report of the creature seen sunbathing for a long period of time, suggesting it could breathe air, leading most to believe it was related to the seal in some way. 2 brothers were fishing for perch on McPhee Bay. The water was clear and calm and no one was around. It was the perfect fall day on the water, when suddenly one of the brothers yelled, "What in the hell?" The other brother would spin around just in time to see 60 centimeters or 1 foot 11 inches of swell coming towards them down the bay. You would think a much bigger boat had just peeled through the area, but there was no one in the bay but them. They knew the only known creatures to roam the area are beavers, otters, and fish. Nothing known could have possibly made a swell like that. In 1953, the Barrie Examiner wrote a headline that read, "What happened to the sea serpent of Lake Simcoe?" as sightings of the creature began to die down. In 1963, the most credible sighting was reported by a priest. She was gaining popularity as the Globe and Mail would report an event with a headline on July 1st, which would be Canada's 96th birthday, that read, "Igopogo, Simcoe monster reported sighted again," on the front page. In that same month, Reverend L.B. Williams would report what most claimed to be the most credible sighting to date. He saw the serpent-like creature on Monday, July 22nd, 1963. He claimed the creature to be about 30 feet in length, charcoal in color, and swimming smoothly along the waves of the water. So where did the name Kempenfelt Kelly come from? Meet local resident to the area known as Arch Brown. He claims himself to have seen the creature 4 times, which gave him the right to rename it. Plus, with all the other names out there, it was just getting confusing, and he wanted to settle the debate and give her a name once and for all. He would describe Kelly as 3 meters, 9 feet, 10 inches. A dark gray in color, with a serpent-like body and a head shaped like a dog. In 1967, he would copyright the name Kempenfelt Kelly and donate it to the city of Barrie for tourism. He also admits to be a firm believer in the creature without even seeing it, as his father was Scottish and had told him many stories of the Loch Ness Monster when he was growing up. He had also previously lived in BC, where the legend of Ogopogo is very well known. Anna Bankley created a cartoon version for the Chamber of Commerce, which is now a famous, cuddly, and a marketable face that is seen all over today, known as Kempenfelt Kelly, or Kelly for short. There is also a beautiful piece of metal artwork along the bay in Heritage Park that represents Kelly. I found a very cool picture on Twitter, which was actually taken by the mayor of Barrie. I'll post the links to both Anna's cuddly creation and the mayor's Twitter picture below. In 1976, the very famous picture of the creature that will come up in any Google search shows 2 children standing on the beach shore looking at the creature as it swims in and out of the waves just off the shore. In 1978, a sonar scan of the bay would capture a large shape moving below the surface of the lake. The South Shore Newmarket Era would report in 1979 quotes from a Mrs. Black who chose to use a fake name in fear she would be discredited in town for believing such a thing. She said she was driving along Lake Drive past Willow Beach with 2 friends when they spotted a big hump in the water. It was also moving towards the shore very quickly. She was adamant she was not joking or drinking at the time. She's quoted as saying, "Believe me, it was there, and I've never seen anything like it before." 1 week later, in the same paper, they would report a Snake Island cottage owner, Mr. Quinn, was fishing not far from the shore, felt something under his boat suddenly, and then it partially surfaced about 10 feet away. "It was the ugliest thing I've ever seen." Mr. Quinn is quoted as telling the paper, this is not his real name, as he of course was afraid what people would think, especially when he was a prominent businessman, and feared losing his credibility. He would describe the creature as 20 to 30 feet in length, with the head of a boxer dog. He also claimed it had flippers or fins all along its body. He is quoted as saying it looked like 3 trout had mated with a boxer dog. It was very scary. I'd have to agree with him. It sounds very scary. On Monday, June 13th, in 1983, William Scripets, some stories call him Jerry Clayton, so I'm not sure who took this sonar scan, but either way, they both were very experienced nautical men of over 15 years. Around 3:30 p.m., would catch something on his radar from the government dock in the marina of Cook's Bay. He knew it was not a school of fish, but was not like anything else he had ever seen before. The outline indicated it was almost serpent-like. Some used to say a traveling circus had once let an old seal go in the lake, but most think it would be more than an ailing old seal. A Captain Johnson of the Queen of Isles steamer would claim the creature had the head of a lion. Many fishermen over the years would report lines and rods snapping unreasonably fast, as if something very large had just took off with them. Because of its said to be dog-like appearance, it is often compared to the Irish crocodile, the Dober Chew, or the Australian bunyip. Cryptozoologist John Kirk of British Columbia Scientific Cryptozoology Club, commonly referred to as the BCSCC, would visit the lake in the 1980s and stated after his investigation that the creature had either left or was deceased. He saw no evidence of the creature at that time on the lake. In 1991, John would receive a tape recorded from the lake during that same year. While a speedboat race was going on, a racer's boat broke down, and as he attempted to repair his boat, a creature comes up out of the water just a few feet away to take a look at the stranded boater. Then it slowly creeps back down into the water, just leaving its head lurking above the surface, as if curious but cautious at the same time. After a few minutes, it submerges and disappears. It is said to be one of the best pieces of evidence to this day of the creature. The film is in great quality and believed to be genuine. The race took place in Cook's Bay in front of a crowd of people who also saw the creature. John Kirk believes the creature to be some type of seal or sea lion that is truly large in size. He claims to never have seen anything like it before, just like everyone else who has seen this creature. Kirk himself has a copy of the video and has promised the family he will not show it without their permission. I admit I tried hard to find this video for a bit, but had no luck. Supposedly it is out there, just very hard to find, just like this creature itself. The catch to this tape that most people do not like is it was captured by a British Army officer and his fellow friend, cryptozoologist Don Hepworth, leading many to believe the pair somehow set up the whole thing. In August 2005, Discovery Channel Canada even decided to do their own investigation into the creature lurking in Lake Simcoe. With the show Daily Planet and the Tourism Department of Barrie, sonar and underwater cameras were used to search for the mysterious creature. All they were ever able to find, a whole bunch of otters swimming around. After 187 years of searching, the elusive beast has not been reported to be seen since 1991. If you believe that tape that's floating around out there, that's 28 years now. Most believe that something did in fact once exist, but has since disappeared. I'd like to think that Kelly found her way out in one of those deep dark tunnels and made her way back to the sea. I'm Canadian Girl. Until next time, my friends. Want to help support the show? You can do that in 3 simple ways. The first one, you can leave us a shiny 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. This small gesture means so much to this podcast as it allows us to move around on the podcast charts and meet more awesome listeners like you. The second, you can stop by our souvenir shop and pick up a souvenir from one of our great adventures and take it on your very own. There's t-shirts, water bottles, notebooks, and so much more. Do head over to our souvenir shop today and grab some adventure gear. And finally, the third way you can help support the show is by donation. We have a fancy PayPal button that can be found on the top right of our webpage. This button allows you the option to donate as much as you want, whenever you want. All donations will be used for the channel by buying new books for research and upgrading equipment. All 3 links to help support the show, of course, can be found in the show notes below. I thank you all so much for your support of the show. It means the world to me.